On this episode of Lady K Sailing, we leave beautiful Georgetown, Exuma, sail across to Long Island on our way to the Turks and Caicos. We also have some trouble with our water pump and have to do a little bit of troubleshooting to figure out what's wrong. And we talk about bottom paint.
Come on away the anchor, we're casting off the line. We're about the destination, the journey is divine.
Hey guys! So we're just getting ready to leave Georgetown in the next few days. Candace just went into town to fill some water jugs and hit the grocery store. And while she's gone, my job is to inspect the bilge pump, and we also have a fresh water leak that I need to find, or an assumed fresh water leak. I think it's leaking because once in a while the bilge pump runs, and once in a while the fresh water pump runs for no reason. So we're going to check that out today, and that involves moving our bed. So a few people asked how we sort of handle sleeping arrangements on Lady K. She's an older boat, she's a small boat. We don't have an aft cabin, the V berth is tiny, so we tried to come up with something else. So I figured in this little episode, in this little segment of this episode, two birds with one stone, I'm going to show you the bilge, we're going to try to find the water leak if there actually is one, and I'm going to talk about our bed because I need to move it to get to the bilge. So here we go. So, this is our bed. And on Lady K, we decided we wanted to sleep on a big, comfy gel memory foam mattress. And there's not really anywhere else in the boat you can fit one of those except right here in the middle in the salon. So this boat originally had a settee on this side, which is a single berth, and it had the little, 3-inch thick, not very good cushion. And then on this side, it had a settee over there, the same as this settee with the same little cushion. And we decided that we were going to make this one double big so that it would support most of a king-size mattress. And it actually worked. So I'm going to show you how we did that underneath. But when we want to just hang out during the day, this doubles as a day bed. We put pillows across the back. We can watch a movie over where the screen is on this side, and that works really well for daytime. And then at nighttime, this side slides across and connects to this side. So you end up with almost in 100% of a king-size mattress when they're butted up together. So the only downside to that is you lose your walkway. So when you're in bedtime mode and the bed is deployed, you have to climb over the bed to get to the bathroom, which kind of sucks, but it's a trade-off and everything's a compromise. Anyway, so that's our bed. I'm going to flip it over right now so we can get to the bilge and the water pump and all that fun stuff, and you can actually see sort of how we made it. So let's get started. As with all things, checking for a water leak, and everything seems fine. I can't find anything wrong. I got the bilge put back together nice and clean, but Candace was just getting her paddleboard out of the water and using our stern shower to wash the salt water off. You give it a fresh water rinse before you put it away. And the stern shower stopped working. So we check in here and the faucet doesn't work either. So I tested for positive 12 volt at the switch that runs the water pump. It's hot. I went in here to where our water pump is, and it has 13 point whatever 5 or 7 volts because we're charging right now at like 30 amps. Anyway, it's got lots of voltage at the pump. So the next step is to take the pump out and try to figure out what's going on with it. Boat life. Hey, can you come here for a sec? Oh, never mind. Yeah, come here for a sec. Hit this little red button. Okay, little bit. Okay, I think I isolated it. Instead of using the ground in the locker that is for the water pump, I ran a temporary wire, touched it on the negative battery post, and the pump lights right up. So the ground in here is obviously no good. So I traced it back to the batteries, and I found a bad terminal on the DC bus bar. The terminal had a little bit of corrosion in it, so we need to like pile some dielectric grease on it. So I replaced the I-ring terminal, screwed it back down, and I'm going to replace the terminal on this end as well, just because, so that we know we got a good connection on both ends, and then we'll see what happens. Cool. All right. Hey, what's up, guys? So we are finally leaving Georgetown. Sweet. It is kind of bittersweet because we loved it here so much. We've been here for a couple months, and it has been a fantastic experience. Georgetown, Exuma, Bahamas is just the greatest place I think we've been thus far on this trip. But we're going to go ahead and get our route set up right now. So we're just going to click Route, Automatic, and in the top left, our From, we're just going to push the little arrow because that's where we're at right now. There's our little anchorage right here. And our To today is going to be, the idea is to go over, you see the island off to the right here, Long Island. We have to get around that island to get over here toward the Turks and Caicos, which is down here. So to get around that island, you can take the northern route or you can take the southern route. The problem with the southern route is you have to come along here, and I've got blue markers in here. You've got to come around and then go back to the west through Comer Channel, which is notoriously shallow. So that'll get you around the south end of Long Island. But it's a long way. You're talking about like 100 miles all in. So the easier way is to go around the northern tip of it, and you can come up around the northern tip and then go over to Rum Key, which is right here. And Rum Key, then down to Clarencetown on the other side of Long Island, and that'll give you a straight hop across to Crooked Island and so on. So today's trip is just going to be a short, almost 40 miles. We're going to go from where we are, right there, to Calabash, which is a harbor right there, 25 miles as the crow flies, so it'll probably be just a hair more than that when we actually plot it in. So let's set our destination, probably in this nice little anchorage here. I've already read the active captain right here. And it talks about it being a reasonably good anchorage. So we're going to probably pop in, actually maybe down here. I think this is where we want it to go. So we're just going to touch and hold, and Navionics is going to do the work for us. And there it goes. So 26.4 miles. And before we leave the harbor, we're going to study the course real quick, just to make sure there's nothing dangerous. I mean, you can't always trust electronics. You have to double check everything. So looks good on the destination area. It doesn't look too shallow. The channel entrance looks pretty clean. Good protection from north and northeast winds, which is what we have right now. And just ocean crossing out here, a couple thousand feet deep. And let's go back to where we are now. So there's a little red section here. Let's see what Navionics is worried about. Okay, so it's breaks across the large swells here. So it's a really calm day today. There's not much wind. It's like 8 to 10 on the nose. So we're not too worried about big breakers or anything. Come in through here, make sure everything looks good and clean. Now we're into the bay where we are now. Stay in the channel there, stay in the channel there, and that's it. So it looks pretty sweet. We're just going to hit the go button, and she's ready to go. We're also going to hit the start button. That way it starts a little yellow tracking line once we leave. But other than that, we're going to get the boat ready right now. We've got a few things to sort of batten down because, I mean, of course it will be a little bit wavy out there. And I'm just going to finish my coffee, and then we will be on our way. So we'll see you out there. Okay. What's up, guys? We are trucking along like 2 hours out of Georgetown. Pretty hard place to leave. It's such an amazing place. We're only making about 4.5 knots, but we have a really dirty bottom and water line that we have to clean, and we haven't had like a non-wavy day where we can get in there and do it. And we're also towing the dinghy, and the reason we're towing the dinghy is because we need it where we're going at Calabash. And it's super calm today, so we figured why bother hauling it out of the water if we're just gonna have to put it back in. We're doing like 30 miles today, so it's not too bad. It's pretty calm out here. There's a little bit of ocean swell that we're sort of going into, straight into the wind too, so we're just motor sailing with the main up. Wanted to talk about customs for a second because we got asked that on Facebook. Checking into the Bahamas is really easy. We landed in Bimini and stayed at, I think it's called the Blue Water Marina. It's $1 a foot. You walk into customs and the boat gets 1 year as its own permit, but you get typically 90 days. Now that 1 year for the boat costs $300, but checking in for you as a person is free, but you only get 90 days. We were here in the Bahamas for more than 90 days, just maybe 2 weeks more than that. So I had to go and renew as my 90 days was running out. I walked into the customs office in Georgetown, dressed nice, wear shoes. I didn't have shoes on, so they made me go get shoes. Yeah, I went in and I said, hey, you know, there just hasn't been a weather window. I haven't been able to get out, but I'm leaving in a few days. Could I have another month just to be safe? Because there's still a lot of Bahamas ahead of us, just not very many customs offices. So I got another month, no charge, no questions, no ifs, ands, or buts. They didn't seem to care. And then when you leave the Bahamas, you can either check out or not check out. And really it depends on where you're going. If you're going to the Turks and Caicos, you don't have to check out of here. You can just pull up in the Turks and Caicos and say, I left the Bahamas and now I'm here, and they're cool with that. But if you go from the Bahamas directly to the Dominican, the DR requests that you check out of the Bahamas first. They want you to do that. Otherwise, they might turn you away when you try to get into the DR. So we haven't checked out of the Bahamas because we are going to the Turks and Caicos, and everybody has told us that's fine. Nobody cares in the Turks and Caicos. And then if you check in and out of the Turks and Caicos, you can get into the DR. They're cool because you checked out of somewhere first. The DR just requests that you check out of your last country before you come to their country. So kind of weird. I don't know if every country's like that. But anyway, that's the Bahamas, checking in and out. The Turks and Caicos, you can have 7 days there for you and your boat. And it's $50 to enter and $50 to leave. So it's $100 to stay there for a week. which is sort of pricey considering. But when you pull up, again, you don't need to check out of the Bahamas. You just go into the customs office in the Turks, and they're a little bit more formal. You're supposed to call ahead on the radio. They also have a radar station on this side of their islands that they're watching all the boats come from the Bahamas, so they expect you to call. So when we get close to the Turks, we're going to call on channel 16 on the VHF, let them know who we are and what our intentions are, and that seems to be the only real formality. Then you pull into the harbor and you anchor, and a customs officer will likely come and inspect your boat. Really what they're looking for, judging by their website, is firearms. So we don't have any on board, so we're not really worried about it. And then, yeah, stay there for a week and then check out, another $50. So you have to go to customs again at the end of your stay, which is kind of a pain, because at the end of the stay, you're getting ready and getting the boat ready, and you have a good weather window, and you're like, oh, wait, we still got to go into town one more time and go to the customs office and hope that they're open, which they're not always. And island time, right? Something really cool I want to show you guys. Clouds, they say, always form over land, or typically form over land. And there's such a true example of that right now. If you look behind us, this string of clouds right here, that's Georgetown, where we came from. And the island literally starts where the clouds start. And it follows the clouds all the way over this way, and then it ends where the Exuma Islands actually end. It's absolutely mimicking the land perfectly. And then if you look at where we're going, it's a dead giveaway that there's land there, because the clouds have formed right above it from the heat from the land. So super cool. I've never actually, you know, been in a position where I've had a really good example of that, but this is it. Beautiful.
Some things on Instagram and Facebook this morning, and just giving everybody a heads up that we were taking off from Georgetown. And somebody had commented, giving us a heads up that launch day is coming up, and they asked if we missed that. It's not really something that you think about anymore, but so I mean, launch day was actually one of my favorite days, because all the excitement and everything, of seeing everybody back at the yacht club, and then putting the boats in, watching everybody like, yay, she floats, and just really good time. Of course, there's the after party, but then I got thinking about it a little bit more, and I'm like, I don't really miss launch day, but it's kind of like anytime we drop the hook somewhere for longer than a week, it's like launch day all over again. It's like you've been sitting still, not doing anything, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh right, I have to remember how to sail, and, you know, trim the sails and start the engine. I mean, it's not really information that goes away, but it's, yeah. So here we are today, and trying to remember how to sail the boat, but there's no wind. So just approaching the anchorage, which is over there. We got just 2.5 miles left, but we're in 60 feet of water, 60, and we can see the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see it on the camera, but there's some coral. There's some coral. That is 60 feet down. That is how pure this water is. Wow. The color of the water in these places never gets tiring. It's just absolutely phenomenal. Let's go check out the bottom. Oh, that's raspy. Let's go check out the anchor while we're here.
Hey guys, so we wanted to touch on bottom paint because as you saw from that last clip, our bottom is pretty dirty. We chose to use ablative, the cheap black, slop it on, multiple coats of ablative, and a couple reasons for that. Number one, we couldn't afford to redo the hull and, you know, sandblast it and change to something else like a hard bottom paint. And number two, we kind of believe in it. We've been using it on every boat I've ever had has had ablative on it. The reason our hull is so dirty right now is largely because we sat on a mooring ball in Georgetown for a really long time, for like more than a month. And when you're in a little hurricane hole on a mooring ball, the water is very stagnant, nothing's moving, and everything grows very, very quickly. When we sat out in Georgetown on the anchor and we're out in the weather and the wind and the waves and the current and everything, it wasn't quite so bad. The stuff that is on the bottom right now does come off if you take a scrubby brush to it. So that shot was before we tried to do anything. So Candace actually did as far as she could reach all the way around the water line. And I went down and did the prop and the drive leg. But we're gonna have to figure out how to do the keel and sort of the rest of the boat. And again, it's just scrubby brushes and it's a lot of work and it's hard to stay underwater for long enough to actually make a meaningful difference. But yeah, we use ablative. We still believe in ablative, and that's because slowly it starts falling off. Like the ablative paint will fall off, and if you have multiple layers of ablative paint, all the better, because they fall off and you just use different colors for each layer so you know how many layers you've lost. So 3 or 4 or 5 layers of ablative will get you through several years down here. And that's cool with us. Maybe someday we'll switch over to VC or something a little bit slicker than this stuff so that we can be fast. But we're just a, you know, cheap, low budget cruising boat, and this works for us. Anyway, that's it for this episode 49. Next week we're coming at you with episode 50. So if you don't want to miss it, hit that subscribe button. And if you could do us a favor, hit the thumbs up on this video. It helps us on YouTube. I'm not sure how, but I know it does us some good. So other than that, we will see you next week. I want to thank all of our patrons. We got a new patron last week. Thank you so much for joining in and helping support us on this journey. If you find us entertaining or have some value, please don't hesitate to head on over to patreon.com/LadyKSailing. Send us a couple bucks every time we release a video. It helps tremendously. Anyway, that's it. We love you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.